Oh, good evening, everybody. Sorry, let me start again. Well, good evening, everybody. I was first alerted to this article. Well, I've got a series of articles, so we'll spread it over, I think, three parts by a treat by Jerry Buting. And it just goes to show that, you know, if you're going to carry on like Prosecutor Ken Kratz, or in this case, this particular prosecutor in Kansas, you know, you're going to get found out. You're going to get sorted out. You know, this is not acceptable behaviour. This sort of win at all cost. Anyway, as I say, we've got a series of articles which I'd like to share with you. Prolonged inquiries into prosecutors' dirty laundry invite claims of bias. So this is by Sherman Smith, December 6th, 2020. So this is the first of three articles that I've got, and we'll do them in chronological order. And it's to do with this prosecutor, Jackie Spaulding. Former Suwannee County prosecutor Jackie Spaulding admitted during a disciplinary hearing in this Topeka office building on charges of ethical misconduct that she denied fair trials to a Shawnee County murder defendant and a Jackson County rape defendant. So I hope I've got it right. Topeka, career prosecutor. You don't like that word, do you? Career prosecutor. Jackie Spaulding will fight to preserve her reputation and law license this week in a Topeka building nestled among the weeds of a natural biosystem for cleansing the city's soiled runoff. Well, you don't get much more poetic than that, do you? You know, the hearing will take place in a makeshift pandemic-fitted courtroom with restricted access inside the Kansas office of the disciplinary administrator, which 4 years ago began reviewing complaints of Spaulding's pattern of misleading juries in high-profile criminal cases. Investigators recommended Spaulding face ethics charges for her misconduct in Shawnee and Jackson counties, where she worked as a prosecutor. She now handles cases for Bourbon County. The prolonged investigation into Spaulding and other prosecutors raises concerns about the fairness of a system that moves more quickly for other kinds of attorneys. It says here, few people will be allowed into the small space designated for Jackie Spaulding's hearing. Reporters are allowed to watch via video conference with orders not to record or take screenshots of the proceedings. Anyway, quote, it shows a tremendous bias in favor of prosecutors to keep their dirty laundry secret as long as possible, said Keem Umbeya, an Alma attorney. Now, when a defense counsel screws up in a criminal case, Katie, bar the door. In addition to Spaulding, there are pending complaints against former Douglas County and Kansas City, Missouri prosecutor Amy McGowan, as well as federal prosecutors who listened to attorney-client conversations at a federal pretrial detention center in Leavenworth. Stan Haslett, the state's disciplinary administrator, rejected claims that his office gives special treatment to prosecutors. No, they are not treated differently, Haslett said. I mean, I understand the concern about the length of time this particular case took, but there are reasons for that. Subheading, an unfortunate mistake. Umbia filed a complaint against Spaulding in August 2016 for relying on non-existent evidence. Where have we come across that before? To convict Dana Chandler of a double murder in Topeka. Unlike other attorneys, prosecutors who face complaints are typically investigated by fellow prosecutors. Yeah. Hazlitt said prosecutors best understand the boundaries of the job and are motivated to make sure nobody gives the profession a bad name. In the Spaulding case, Sedgwick County Deputy District Attorney Ron Pascal initially determined she had done nothing wrong. That's what you get when you get people looking after one another. Spaulding had told the jury Chandler was guilty because one of the murder victims had secured a protection from abuse order, and Chandler then violated the order by breaking into his home. When the case was appealed, Spaulding acknowledged during arguments before the Kansas Supreme Court that there was no order, let alone a violation of it. To this investigator, it is understandable how the mistake was made. Although it was unfortunate, Pascal wrote in his August 28, 2017 report for Hazlitt's office. Does that not strike of Tom Kasurek? Yeah, it was a genuine mistake. Nobody meant anybody any harm. Yeah, okay. In April of 2018, the Supreme Court overturned Chandler's convictions on the basis of Spaulding's misstatements and misdirection. The ruling said the record strongly suggests Spaulding knew the abuse order didn't exist when she talked about it in front of the jury. Umbia said the court ruling proved a lack of credibility in Pascal's report. Doesn't he look stupid? Umbia said. There's no other word that I could say. It's stupid or corrupt. You get to pick. Do you know what, Mr. Umbia? I would say mixture of the two. Hazlitt said he disagreed with Pascal's report and wanted to wait for the High Court decision before proceeding with the investigation into Spaulding. I have a great deal of respect for this particular attorney, Hazlitt said of Pascal. I just don't agree with his analysis of that, and neither did anybody else in the office when we talked about it. Subheading: Prosecuting the prosecutor. After the Supreme Court ruling on Chandler, Hazlitt's office further investigated concerns with Spaulding and turned the findings over to a review committee. That panel, which consists of 3 attorneys appointed by the Supreme Court for the duty of reviewing claims about attorney misconduct, found probable cause in 2018 that Spaulding had acted inappropriately. Attorneys who face a disciplinary hearing for probable cause are effectively put on trial by Hazlitt's office. They can gather witnesses and evidence for their defense or enter into a deal in which they admit wrongdoing in hopes of lesser punishment. Hazlitt said the volume of documents associated with the Chandler case and COVID-19 restrictions were responsible for the 2 years of delays for Spaulding's hearing. In the meantime, the Kansas Court of Appeals overturned a 2017 case in which Spaulding prosecuted Jacob Ewing in Jackson County on charges of rape and other sex crimes. His convictions were overturned because Spaulding misstated evidence. Courts have cited Spaulding's conduct as a basis for overturning convictions in at least 4 other cases in Shawnee County, where she worked from 2009 to 17. After handling the Ewing case, she worked in Allen County, and since 2018, Bourbon County. She previously worked from 91 to 2007 as a prosecutor in Johnson County, and from 2007 to 9 in the Kansas Attorney General's office. Now the tables have turned on the career prosecutor. Starting Monday and concluding Friday, the 3-member panel will consider evidence from the investigation into Spaulding's alleged unethical behavior. Jackie wants a fair trial, Umbir said. She wouldn't want some prosecutor lying about her, would she? I like this Umbir. He's pretty straight to the point, isn't it? The panel will forward a recommendation to the Supreme Court, which has the ultimate say. A review of Kansas Reflector. Sorry, a review by Kansas Reflector. That's the name of the newspaper that we're reading the article of attorney discipline considered by the High Court shows that cases typically move more quickly, with hearings conducted within 6 months of the complaint being filed. After the hearing, there is no timetable for the court's decision. Penalties include public censure, suspension of a law license, or disbarment. Opening a doorway. Kansas City Freedom Project founder Latara Smith filed complaints against McGowan in October 29 in both Kansas and Missouri. The Missouri office heard McGowan's case last week. The Kansas office has yet to find probable cause. Hazlitt's office has totally slow played all of the complaints we submitted, Smith said. Missouri judges in 06 and 19 overturned murder convictions because McGowan withheld evidence that could have prevented innocent men from going to prison for murders they didn't commit. The Kansas Supreme Court in 2013 overturned a conviction for sexual exploitation of a child because of improper comments by McGowan, a recurring theme in other cases she tried in Kansas. Allegations of misconduct by prosecutors with the U.S. Attorney's Office surfaced in 2016. Subsequent hearings and findings in federal court showed the prosecutors had collected recordings of more than 1,000 phone calls and 700 in-person meetings between detainees and their attorneys at the core civic prison for people awaiting trial in Leavenworth. U.S. District Judge Julie Robinson issued a 188-page ruling in August 29 that held the U.S. Attorney's Office in contempt of court. Prosecutors had disobeyed the court's orders to preserve documents and recordings. Hazlitt couldn't confirm whether his office was, I presume, pursuing an investigation against McGowan or the federal prosecutors. The pace of inquiries into those prosecutors doesn't surprise Smith, whose ministry advocates for the wrongfully convicted. I can tell you that I know the disciplinary process for prosecutors is held differently than it is from regular attorneys, Smith said. Regular attorneys can immediately get rolled up. Next thing you know, they're in a hearing and they're being disciplined, and if they've done something wrong. Prosecutors, it doesn't go like that for them. They extend their time. They stretch it as far as they can, and they don't discipline them, because if they do, it opens a doorway for other cases that they prosecuted to be looked at a second time. Hazlitt said he had never considered such a possibility. Never crossed my mind that our prosecution of a prosecutor for misconduct in a particular criminal case might result in a reversal of that conviction, he said. I would consider that to be a good thing if that were the case. Dirty little secrets. The way Hazlitt puts it, he and Umber have a little history together. Their history stems from a complaint filed against Umber in 2009 by former Kansas Department of Corrections Deputy Secretary Charles Simmons. Umber has brought Topeka Capital Journal reporter Tim Carpenter, now the senior reporter for Kansas Reflector, into the women's prison in Topeka to interview inmates who had been forced into providing sexual favors for prison employees. Carpenter's reporting also revealed a corrections employee had driven a prisoner to Planned Parenthood for an abortion. Simmons claimed Umber lied to prison staff about Carpenter's identity, which wasn't true. Still, Hazlitt tried to convince Umber it was in his best interest to accept a diversion agreement. Hazlitt repeatedly told Umber the review committee had made a finding of probable cause when in fact the panel had never considered the allegations. Hazlitt later apologized and the case against Umber was dropped. He does that to every lawyer. Take a diversion, Umber said. You're hemorrhaging huge sums of money to defend yourself on a system that does not give the respondent due process. The 4 years process between Umber's complaint and Spaulding's hearing intensified tensions between Hazlitt and Umber. Hazlitt's office has blocked Umber from attending this week's hearing, pointing to public health orders and the risk of COVID-19. The hearing was moved from the large courtroom at the Kansas Judicial Center to a room in Hazlitt's office, a small space where desks have been equipped with plexiglass barriers. News reporters will be allowed to watch by video conference and have been ordered not to take recordings or photos from the hearing. Kansas Supreme Court rulings have made it clear that prosecutors who break the rules do so. Where have we heard this before? They do so at their own peril. The dirty little secret is there is no peril, Umber said. Jackie Spaulding and these other prosecutors have not been brought to justice. Well, as I say, that's the first of 3 articles that I've got for you. I'll hopefully get time to do the other one tomorrow sometime. Just to say that I've been reading some of the comments on the videos. I must get round to some of them. I'm also really enjoying reading Vic Feazell's book, Rhinos, Sharks and Unicorns. And I'll tell you a little bit more about a chapter in the book called Bee Bop Bird. It sounds like it's some sort of tribute to Charlie Bird, but it's not quite. So anyway, I look forward to that. Anyway, we'll catch you soon. Take care. Bye for now.